Elara moved with a practiced rhythm, her brush scouring the stone flags of the royal hall. Her pale, silver-gold hair was pulled into a tight knot, a style meant to be severe and forgettable, her gaze fixed on the floor. For 2 years, she had mastered the skill of becoming invisible. She was just another servant, a nameless figure blending into the background, a hybrid concealing her true nature behind potent scent-masking salves and ill-fitting uniforms. The salves muted her natural aroma to almost nothing, making her seem like a common human. It was how she endured, how she remained protected from the scrutiny, the probing questions, and the crushing rejection that would surely follow if her secret was ever revealed. The palace was alive with frantic preparations for the evening's grand celebration. Alpha King Kale was marking his 29th year, and the royal council had summoned eligible unmated females from every corner of the realm, praying one would be his destined mate. Elara had overheard the worried whispers in the kitchens. He had ruled for 4 years without a Luna, and the council was growing frantic. The kingdom needed a future, and stability demanded a queen. A familiar ache tightened in Elara's chest. She had once allowed herself to dream of having a mate, of finding the one person the moon goddess had created just for her, someone who would see her as a treasure. That hope had been shattered 3 times, crushed beneath the weight of 3 separate rejections. 3 different alphas, all echoing the same sentiment in their own cruel ways. Something about her was fundamentally wrong. She wrung her cleaning cloth over the bucket, her eyes tracing the patterns in the murky water. The first time had been at 18, when she was full of hope and the naive belief that finding her mate was the start of a perfect life. Forlag was a celebrated warrior from her home pack. When the invisible tether of the mate bond had snapped into place between them at a festival, Elara felt as if she'd been personally touched by the goddess. She approached him with a shy smile, her heart a frantic drum, already picturing their life together. Forlag had smiled back, even reached for her. But as he leaned closer to inhale her scent, a customary greeting, his face contorted. First came confusion, then a subtle wrinkling of his nose, and finally, an expression of pure disgust. "Your scent is tainted," he had declared, each word a physical blow. "It's not pure wolf. It smells barren." Like a failed hybrid, he recoiled, creating a chasm between them. "I cannot mate with someone who can't give me pups. I reject this bond." Elara had tried to protest, her voice trembling, insisting she was healthy, but he had cut her off. "My alpha instincts don't lie. They can sense these things. There is a flaw in your nature. You cannot bear children. I need heirs, a true she-wolf. You are not that." The rejection was swift and public, severing the bond before it could fully form, leaving her feeling torn apart from the inside out. She had sought out the pack healers, desperate for an explanation. They found no physical ailments, but when she told them of Forlag's reaction, they exchanged uneasy glances. "Alpha instincts are rarely mistaken," the head healer had conceded. "If he sensed infertility, it's likely due to your mixed bloodline. We lack the means to test for such things, but perhaps your 2 natures are in conflict, preventing conception." Elara left feeling hollowed out, branded as defective in a way no medicine could ever mend. 2 years later, she was more guarded when the bond formed again, this time with a traveling merchant named Rorik. She watched him for days, hoping he might be different, more accepting of her supposed flaw. Rorik was charming and kind, and for a week, she let herself hope. He swore Forlag had been a fool, that her being his mate was all that mattered. But then he took her to meet his family. As they gathered, she saw the same looks of confusion and distaste spread across their faces. Rorik's father pulled him aside, his harsh whisper carrying across the room. "Her scent is unnatural, son. Not of a true wolf. Are you certain she can continue our line?" That evening, Rorik rejected her with regret in his eyes. "My family is right," he'd said, echoing the words of his father. "Your scent, it's not fertile. It smells of a conflict I cannot resolve. I must have children to inherit my trade. I cannot build a future with a barren hybrid." The second rejection was more painful than the first because she had allowed herself to believe it might be different. The third, 2 years after that, was the one that finally broke her. Garrick was a powerful alpha from a neighboring territory, arrogant and utterly convinced of his own importance. When the bond appeared, Elara tried to flee, but he pursued her, demanding they acknowledge it. "I've heard the rumors," he'd sneered. "The twice-rejected hybrid who smells wrong. I had to see for myself." He called a great gathering of their packs and, in front of hundreds, made his pronouncement. "This is Elara," he announced, "the hybrid the goddess mistakenly chose for me. But she is defective." He paused for effect as a chill spread through her veins. "Her scent is tainted, broken. It reeks of infertility. A powerful alpha like myself requires a pure-blooded mate to bear strong heirs. This one," he laughed, a cruel, sharp sound, "is useless. I, Garrick of the Ironwood Pack, reject this flawed bond." The connection snapped with such violence it sent Elara to her knees. As the crowd dispersed, she heard the whispers. Useless, 3 rejections. The goddess truly made a mistake. That night, she left everything behind, traveling to the capital with her last few coins to buy the strongest scent-masking salve she could find and take a job as a servant. If she was destined to be alone, she would simply cease to exist. And for 2 years, it had worked. Elara Brenna, her friend and fellow servant, hurried toward her. "The kitchens need everyone for the feast, right now," Elara nodded, gathering her things. She would serve in the background, just as she always did, utterly invisible. The kitchens were a storm of activity. Elara found her station, her hands moving with the rote efficiency of long practice. "Did you use yourselves today?" Brenna whispered beside her. "Of course," Elara replied, a knot of worry tightening in her stomach. "Why?" "Because I can smell you," Brenna said, her eyes wide with concern. "Just a little, but it's there." The hybrid scent, Elara's mind raced. She'd been using the same cheap, illicitly bought salves for years. Had they expired? Had they finally failed? But there was no time to reapply. The feast was starting, and she was swept up in the wave of service. The great hall was dazzling. At the head table sat King Kale, a commanding presence even from across the room. He seemed uninterested in the parade of females presented to him, his expression one of polite boredom. Elara moved like a ghost along the edges of the crowd, refilling goblets and clearing plates, keeping her distance. She just had to survive the night. Then, a careless nobleman stumbled backward, crashing into her. Elara was thrown against the stone wall, a gasp of pain escaping her lips as her tray clattered to the floor. In that instant of shock, the last vestiges of the salve burned away. Her true scent, undiluted and powerful, flooded the hall. It was a complex aroma, wild and earthy, not purely wolf, but something more ancient and potent. Every alpha in the room turned toward her. Their reactions were not of attraction, but of confusion and discomfort. All except one. At the head table, King Kale's head shot up. His amber eyes, moments before glazed with indifference, now burned with a fierce intensity. He was on his feet in a heartbeat, his chair crashing backward as he crossed the hall with preternatural speed. Elara's instincts screamed at her to run, but he was too fast. He caught her wrist, his touch sending a jolt of pure energy through her, and the mate bond slammed into them both with the force of a physical impact. "Mate," Kale breathed, his voice thick with awe and possession. "No, please," Elara stammered, trying to pull away as the entire hall fell silent. "I have to go." "I'm sorry, don't run," he commanded, his grip firm but not painful. "I've been searching for you for years, you don't understand," she pleaded, her voice cracking. "I'm broken. My scent is wrong. I can't give you what an alpha needs." Kale's gaze sharpened. He pulled her closer, shielding her from the sea of staring faces. "What are you talking about? Your scent is perfect." "It's not," she whispered. "I've been rejected 3 times. They all said my scent was tainted, that it means I'm barren. The healers agreed. I'm useless as a mate. Just let me go, stop, Kale's voice held the gentle command of a true king. I don't know who told you those lies, but they were wrong, they felt the bond, too, she insisted desperately. And they all rejected me because of it, realization, followed by a cold fury, dawned in Kale's eyes. They rejected you? Give me their names, it doesn't matter. They were right, there is nothing wrong with you, Kale said fiercely. And I will prove it. Before she could argue, he swept her into his arms and carried her from the hall, leaving a maelstrom of gossip in his wake. He brought her to his private chambers and set her down gently. Tell me everything, he said. So she did. She told him of Forlag, Rorik, and Garrick's cruel public humiliation. She spoke of the healers who confirmed her fears, of her decision to hide her identity and become no one. Kale's expression grew harder with every word. Those alphas were fools, he said when she finished. I'm calling for Morwen. She is the palace healer, the wisest wolf I know. She will give you real answers. Minutes later, an ancient she-wolf named Morwen arrived. She took one look at Alara and her eyes widened. A hybrid, heavily suppressed. For how long? 2 years, Alara admitted. And the healers before? They all said my mixed bloodline likely made me infertile. Morwen circled her, then paused and inhaled deeply. Her eyes shot open in astonishment. Moon goddess, she breathed. Your Majesty, I need my ancient texts. Do not let her leave, she returned moments later with several crumbling tomes, her fingers flying across the aged pages. Finally, she looked up, her face a mask of awe. Your Majesty, she said slowly, your maid is not infertile. She is the opposite. She is a twin-bearer. Alara stared in confusion. A what? A twin-bearer, Morwen repeated, pointing to a passage in an old script. It is an exceedingly rare trait found in certain ancient hybrid lines. The moon goddess designed these hybrids to carry multiple pups, always twins. But their bodies are selective. They require an alpha of extraordinary power and lineage to conceive. The scent other alphas perceive as barren is actually their own instinct recognizing they are not strong enough to sire her children. That can't be right, Alara whispered. It is, Morwen insisted. Your scent is more potent, more demanding, because it issues a challenge only the strongest of alphas can meet. Those 3 who rejected you were simply inadequate. Their instincts misinterpreted their own insufficiency as a flaw in you. This knowledge is so ancient most modern healers have forgotten it. Kale stood perfectly still. So she can have children, yes, Morwen confirmed. But only with an alpha of a royal bloodline. Someone with the inherent strength to father twins. You, Your Majesty, are precisely that alpha. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. I'm not broken, Alara whispered. The relief was so overwhelming it nearly buckled her knees. Years of believing she was defective, a mistake of nature, had all been a painful misunderstanding. Tears streamed down her face as Kale moved to her side, gathering her into a strong embrace. You were never broken, he murmured into her hair. They were too weak for you. You were waiting for me. She cried until she was empty, and when she finally pulled away, his eyes were filled with kindness. I need time, she said, her voice hoarse. I thought I knew who I was, and now. Take all the time you need, Kale promised. But I am not going anywhere. You are my mate. I don't care about heirs or twin-bearers. I want you. The words were a balm on her wounded soul, but the scars of 3 rejections were deep. Healing would take time. In the weeks that followed, Kale courted her with a patience and gentleness she had never known. He didn't push her to complete the bond or assume the duties of a Luna. He simply spent time with her, walking in the palace gardens each evening. Tell me who you are, he asked one night, a question no one had ever bothered with before. Hesitantly, she spoke of her love for books, her secret garden behind the kitchens, and the dream of a family she had long since abandoned. In return, he shared his own burdens, the loneliness of the crown, the pressure of his duties, and the years he'd spent feeling the pull of a mate he could never find. For the first time, she felt seen not as a hybrid or a potential mother, but as a person. She began to fall in love not just with her mate, but with the man. He introduced her to his inner circle. Serafina, the formidable beta captain of his guard, was initially wary but came to respect Alara's honesty. Boran, his massive Gamma second-in-command, welcomed her warmly. "The king hasn't smiled this much in years," he told her. "You're what he needs," yet, Alara still hesitated, waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Kale to finally see the flaw the others had. He sensed her fear. "I know you're waiting for me to reject you," he said one evening, taking her hands. "But I am not them. Your scent doesn't smell broken to me. It smells like home. I trust my instincts more than I trust the instincts of 3 alphas who couldn't recognize a gift from the goddess." His unwavering certainty began to dismantle the walls around her heart. The true turning point arrived with Forlag. Her first rejecter appeared at the palace, requesting an audience. He found her in a receiving room, no longer in a servant's drab uniform but in a simple, elegant gown. "Alara," he began, "I heard you are the king's mate. I came to apologize. I was young and foolish. Perhaps we could." "You want another chance," she cut in, her voice cold. "Now that I have status." He had the decency to look ashamed. "The bond is still there," faintly. "We could still complete it. That bond is there because you never properly finished the rejection," she stated. "But I will finish it now. I, Alara, reject you." Forlag of the Moon Ridge Pack, the tie between them snapped, and she felt only relief. "He already knows what I am," Kale's voice boomed from the doorway. He entered the room, his presence radiating power. "He knows she is a twin bearer. He knows she is selective. And he knows she is mine. You rejected my mate. You made her believe she was worthless. If I ever see you near her again, I will consider it a personal insult." Forlag fled in terror. Kale turned to Alara, his fury melting away. "Are you all right?" "I am," she said, a genuine smile gracing her lips for the first time in years. Standing in his arms, she finally allowed herself to believe. She wasn't broken. She had been waiting for him. "I'm ready," she whispered. "To complete the bond. To be yours." Their mating ceremony was an intimate affair under the full moon. When Kale marked her, she felt a final piece of her soul click into place, and with it, a dormant power awakened. "Your gift is manifesting," Morwen told her later. "A life multiplier. It is common in your hybrid line. You can amplify things, food, herbs, and eventually, life force itself." 2 months later, Morwen confirmed what Alara already suspected. She was pregnant. "And given your nature," the old healer added with a knowing look, "I believe you are carrying more than one." Kale was overcome with joy. At 8 weeks, Morwen's suspicions were confirmed. "Twins," she announced. "And Alara, they are both alphas." A hush fell over the room. "Twin alphas," Kale breathed. "The firstborn in this kingdom in 200 years. Morwen's face was grave. "There is a prophecy," she said, opening one of her ancient books. "When Silver Moon bears golden twins, the kingdom either ends or begins." "Salvation or destruction." "Silver Moon," Kale said, looking at Alara's hair. "Golden twins," he murmured, touching his own. "It's about our children." The news spread like wildfire, dividing the kingdom between hope and fear. A faction on the council, led by a fearful elder named Lord Valerius, even suggested terminating the pregnancy to avoid a repeat of the civil war the last twin alphas had caused. Alara, now the Luna, rose to her feet in the council chamber, her voice ringing with fury. "These are my sons. We will not allow a dusty prophecy to decide their fate. The prophecy speaks of a choice. We are choosing salvation." The pregnancy was arduous. The twin alpha pups were draining her, growing at a rate that put her life in peril. By 6 months, she was bedridden and fading. "They're taking everything she has," Morwen said grimly. "She won't survive the birth." It was then that Elara remembered her gift. Closing her eyes, she reached for her power, not to multiply herbs, but to multiply her own life force. She focused on the dwindling energy within her and duplicated it, again and again. A golden light emanated from her hands, suffusing her body with strength. The pups inside her calmed, nourished without draining their mother to death. She had to repeat the process several times a day, but it worked. She grew stronger, and the kingdom watched in awe as their Luna defied death. At 9 months, she went into labor. It was a long and brutal fight, but with Kale by her side and the sound of the entire pack howling their support outside, she found the strength. Using her gift one last time, she brought her sons into the world. The first had his father's golden hair, the second his mother's silver gold. They were perfect, and when placed together, they didn't fight, but reached for each other. Lyran, Kale named the golden-haired boy. "And Theron," he said, looking at the other. Lyran and Theron. The twin alphas had arrived. 6 years later, Elara watched her sons play in the garden. Lyran, the strategist, was building a fortress, while Theron, the warrior, playfully defended its perimeter. They were not rivals, they were a unit. They were joined by their younger sister, Lyra, and the baby of the family, Corin. 4 children. She had gone from being a barren outcast to the mother of a beautiful, thriving family. Kale came to stand beside her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "The council still worries about the throne," she said quietly. "Then we'll create a new system," he replied. "A co-rulership. They will figure it out." Just then, Lyran called them over. "Look what we built. When Theron and I are grown, we're going to rule together. No throne, just a council table where we both sit. That way, nobody fights." Theron beamed. "It was my idea." Elara's heart swelled with pride. Her 5-year-old sons had solved a centuries-old problem by simply choosing partnership over competition. "We're better together," Lyran said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. As the sun set, Elara looked at her family, her 4 impossible children and the mate who had seen her worth when no one else could. She had been a rejected hybrid, hiding in the shadows, certain she was worthless. Now she was a Luna, a mother, and living proof that the moon goddess made no mistakes. Being selective was not the same as being broken, and the things that seem like curses can be the greatest blessings of all. The twin alphas everyone had feared were not a harbinger of destruction, but the architects of a new, more unified future.